hope everyone's had a good day. It's been a busy day, that's for sure. We do have copies of our agenda and items associated with the agenda up on our table up front. So if you don't have a copy, we do have copies readily available. If you would please silence all your cell phones. Today is Monday, August the 28th, and I've got 4:30. Today is a combined work session and called meeting, regular meeting for us and the Board of Commissioners. As you know, next Monday is Labor Day, so we're doing a combined meeting this week, so we're trying to be as efficient as possible. So hereby call this meeting to order. If you would, please rise. We recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Normally at this time we have a representative from the Ministerial Alliance to do our invocation. I know because this is a combined meeting, it's kind of a curveball of their schedule. And Mr. Dyer was scheduled, but this is not normal. He is not here. So I'm actually concerned. When Dean Dyer with WRWH isn't here, it catches your eye just a little bit. Yeah. If you would, in Dean's absence, if you're so inclined, please pray with us. God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for the grace that you bestow upon us each and every day. I ask for your wisdom and the decisions that we are making on behalf of the citizens of our county, our hope and prayers that we represent our citizens and their wishes in a good and godly manner. Guide us in all that we do. Show us your way. In your name we pray. Everybody said, Amen. Amen. Thank you. All right. Item 4, consider adoption of the minutes of the July 31st, 2017 work session and the called meeting, the August 3rd, 2017 millage public hearing, which is held in the AM, and the August 3rd, 2017 public hearing in the PM, as well as the third public hearing held on August the 14th, which is a public hearing and called meeting, including the executive session minutes attached with those. Gentlemen, I hope you've had an opportunity to review those minutes. If so, are you pleased with the minutes as presented? If so, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Commissioner Bryant first.
Second.
Commissioner Goodger second. Any discussion regarding those minutes? Okay, having none, all in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Because again, this is a combined meeting. We don't have anything scheduled as far as acknowledgments and/or proclamations this evening. And because we're doing a combined meeting, we don't have anything under our consent agenda. For those who don't know, our consent agenda in our work sessions, a lot of times, a lot of our subjects we discuss, you can already tell there's a consensus amongst the board, and we're able to move those items to a consent agenda for the voting meeting. And it helps us move things along a lot more quicker without much discussion. But because we're not having a work session, this is the work session with the voting meeting, so nothing on that list. Nothing under old business, so we're going to move on to new business. We're conducting two things. We have a public hearing for the application filed by the Nacoochee Property Management LLC to redistrict 1.0 acres of property located on Comfort Woods Lane, Salty, Nacoochee, of course 30571. The request is to go from R3 seasonal to R1, which is residential single family, and that's tax parcel 68-095. And what we'll do, I'll ask staff, Mr. Melton, to give a brief description of the application, and then Mr. Knott here is representing the applicant. I'll ask Mr. Knott to kind of give his summary of the request, and then what I'll do, I'll open the floor up in the public hearing side. I'll ask for anyone who's here to vocalize their support of the agenda item, or if there happens to be anyone who happens to be in opposition of the application, and then we'll close that up. I'll ask for kind of what the board's pleasure is for the application. So enough of my rambling here. Mr. Melton, would you?
Mr. Chairman, this is a land use application from Coochie Property Management LLC to redistrict property located in Comfort Woods Lane, Southeast Georgia, from R3 residential seasonal to R1 residential single-family district. Total acreage to be changed is 1 acre. It's part of the 6.85 acre parcel. The present use, as I said, is R3 residential district seasonal. The purpose of this is to build a home on for the, I believe it's the son of the property owner. And Mr. Knott is here representing the property owner. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It was voted on by the Planning Commission unanimously.
Okay. All right. Mr. Knott, take the podium and your turn on the field.
Chairman, Board of Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of Coochie Property Management. The purpose of this rezoning has to do with the occupancy of the property. If you can remember, back in April of 15, the Board of Commissioners approved land use in White County, and doing so, they adopted a land use ordinance which had various land use categorizations. The property at the time has 5 rental cabins on it. It still to this day has 5 rental cabins on 6.85 acres. So if anybody in the planning department was going to map out what was the current or anticipated land use map, you would say, okay, well, R3 seasonal use is what the mapping should be. What we discovered, though, when we were going to seek out a use of the property as 1 acre, is that R3 seasonal use does not allow residential use, personal residential use. So you might have a large tract of land, has some rental cabins on it that was districted as R3 seasonal use, and you're not even allowed to live on it as your primary residence. This particular property is a 1 acre portion in the northwest corner of the 6.85 acre tract that is taxed as parcel 68, map 68, parcel 95. So there are 5 rental cabins on the southern portion of the property, and we're trying to have the 1 acre in northwest corner rezoned to R1 residential purposes. So that the owner of the company, which is Mark Chambers, through his company, the LLC, Coochie Property Management, he can deed the acre to his son and daughter-in-law, and they can build a house on the property and live on it as their primary residence. They are actually active in the cabin rental management business. They own a company called Pinnacle Cabin Rental as well. And the Coochie Property Management is the LLC they use for their own personal rental properties.
This property is almost in Habersham County.
It is, well, it's way north. It is way north of 356 past Raccoon Lane. And it is bounded on the north by the Forest Service. On this particular tract, it's been on the north by the Forest Service and on the east of the Forest Service. So some of the northeasternmost portions of White County before you hit the Forest Service. Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Knott?
So this is for his family. It's not just to build to sell one.
That's correct. That's correct. Son and daughter-in-law of Mark Chambers, to be exact. Right.
Just a question, and I'm sure you're handling the transaction, so I expect it to be fine, but this 1 acre, it'll have clean and clear access, I presume, through the easement of the road that currently exists there.
Right, that's how this initially took place, is we're having this 1 acre that we're having to seek out a variance from the planning department to access it via an easement, which the planning department allows when you present them that variance request or family members. So we went under that ordinance to seek out the variance request. It was in that process we didn't realize that R3 seasonal use doesn't allow for primary residential use, which I would speculate there's probably other tracts in the county that were deemed seasonal use at the time of the mapping, but in fact the property owner probably lives on the property along with his rental cabin.
Understood. Any other questions?
My question is to us as a board, is this something we possibly need to look at in the ordinance?
I mentioned that to the planning department, that whether we need to make it a conditional use or a special permit use, or change the R3 to allow for primary residence. I don't know, Mr. Nix, but
I think it's something we might ought to discuss
But
at
it's-
a later date.
Yeah, but it's also fairly easy just to give it, take an acre out and rezone it. I mean, that's,
We knew this was gonna happen. We've done
Yeah.
this, and like every meeting, we find something, we miss.
But the cabins are located here in the property.
Yes, sir.
Back.
I've got an aerial.
That's okay, I just want to be sure.
And that would be the aerial from the tax map. So it is this top left corner right here.
Okay, good deal.
Mike, at the next work session or thereabouts, want meet up with the planning department in Shannon to discuss, so that we can maybe make things a little easier on customers going forward. Is there a better way that we could either make a change in the guts of the ordinance itself, or find us what's the simplest way to make it easier on the customer?
Okay,
So,
we'll take it.
all right. Okay,
That's all, folks.
all right. Yeah, you go sit down. Thank you. All right, guys, we'll move on to item 6, which is consider the application filed by the Coochie Property Manager LLC to redistrict 1 acre of property from Comfort, on Comfort Woods Lane, Saltee, from R3 to R1, which would take it to residential single family. Tax parcel 68-09. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure? I'll keep it short, sweet, and simple.
We'll make a move, we approve the change in the zone from 3 to 1.
All right, Commissioner Nix, motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Commissioner Goodger, second. Any discussion? All right, having none, all in favor of the motion is signified going from R3 to R1. Say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Mr. Knott, thank you very much.
Be dismissed.
You are dismissed. Have a good day. Might feel like a judge right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, moving on to item 7. Mr. Michael Fisher with 9th District Opportunity to present information regarding the programs in White County. Mr. Fisher, if you'll come to the podium, please.
Thank you, sir. Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. I want to thank you for allowing our organization, and ladies, to speak to this respected assembly. Just out of curiosity, how many here have even heard of the 9th District Opportunity? I understand that. It's in times of late, we've not done a great job of promoting ourselves, and that's one of the things they've asked me to start doing. So you're going to start seeing my face and hearing my words like crazy till you're sick of me. So just understand that going forward. By the way, sirs, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm just going to assume that you're smiling. Is that cool? Thank you. Now, my name is Michael Fisher, and I work as the housing manager and the program planner for the 9th District Opportunity. Before I begin, I would like to thank this county for generously providing our organization office space currently in the health department that has allowed us to serve the people of our community for many decades now. Currently, our county coordinator is located there. Her name is Yolanda Cruz, who's doing a fine job serving this area. 9th District Opportunity is probably better known for spearheading the Head Start program, which continues to provide opportunities for our young children. 9th District Opportunity also works directly with community services, helping families and individuals who are in need and assistance during times of crisis. We do so over a 13-county region in the northeast corridor of Georgia. The services we provide can include transitioning homeless individuals and families into safe, stable housing, as well as working to keep families in their existing homes. Our organization also steps into the gap, assisting families when major life events strike unexpectedly. Through various programs, we pay outstanding utility bills, which allow families to move forward towards self-sufficiency. Each winter, through the Low-Income Energy Assistance Program, affectionately called Free Gas Time, 9th District Opportunity offers a one-time payment to assist with heating bills for customers falling below determined income thresholds. We also provide a weatherization program to bring homes into a more efficient energy standard. This can include insulation, sealing doors and windows, energy audits, and even tuning heaters and furnaces when needed. Finally, we offer assistance with Social Security and disability applications for customers that have such a need. Last year, in the year 2016, 9th District Opportunity provided over $181,000 in emergency service support to over 540 family units here in White County. With our energy season soon approaching, we are estimating an even larger increase of services to the people of White County this year. We do appreciate the opportunity to work in this community, and we look forward to more time working together in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Fisher, quick question.
Please.
Do you guys have, and I'm asking the question I probably should know the answer to, but as far as minimum age, there's probably no max age, but minimum age to participate in the programs? And of course, I know the Head Start, with that getting started, but what kind of criteria do you guys look for?
It's all going to be based on need and income.
Okay.
So it's all based on it. It's all subjective based on that family and their particular situation in life.
Okay, so each one, you assess each situation as it comes in.
And then they're providing case management so that we can track them, and they have obligations to keep skin in the game, to be active in the pursuits that they're responsible for, so that we can continue to do the best we can for them.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Have a
your
good
time.
evening. All right, item 8, Mr. Michael Harry Powell to speak on behalf of Support Your Local Police Committee. Mr. Powell, you have the floor.
Chairman Turner, Mr. Commissioners, Mr. Melton, Ms. Mays, and Ms. Murphy. I'm here to talk to you tonight about the Support Your Local Police Committee. And I just might add at the beginning, I talked to Mr. Melton on the phone about how long my talk would be, and I told him about 5 minutes, give or take. And I came in tonight just to make sure that he was aware that I went over in my planning a little bit. So I promise you it will not be more than an hour.
Have a good evening. No.
Hey, just kidding, I saw that smile on your face while ago.
You're not gonna take no offer, are
Pass the hat. Go
Well,
ahead, sorry.
Let's see. Probably not. Doesn't look too productive. My name is Michael Powell. I am a citizen of White County. My wife Kay and I reside in the Blue Ridge Drive, on Blue Ridge Drive in the Saltee Macoochee community in Sky Lake. Some neighboring citizens and friends of ours who are colleagues and members of the Support Your Local Police Committee are here with us this evening to support this effort. Tonight I wish to speak to you about a serious threat to the local control of law enforcement, with emphasis on local. With increasing frequency, we all have watched TV reports of demonstrations and riots which have erupted throughout communities all across our country. Many of these planned eruptions have been financed by billionaire financier George Soros through his foundation, and by the Ford Foundation, and by other philanthropic foundations, with their seemingly unlimited bank accounts. And George Soros himself has supported and financed over 100 of these anti-law enforcement riots and protests, which the liberal media news has almost always presented as having occurred spontaneously. The objective of these liberal groups, nearly always promulgating globalist aims, is to convince the public that local police and local governments cannot maintain law and order, and therefore federal intervention and the takeover of protecting local citizens are justified. By way of example, instigators of racial turmoil and riotous actions, such as Al Sharpton following the riots in Ferguson, Missouri, immediately after the riots called for federal involvement by saying, and I quote, "Congress must deal with laws that will change the jurisdiction threshold for federal cases and policy. We need federal intervention without delay," he went on to say. And finally he said, The states have already proven that they cannot do the job. End quote. Now, by extension, ladies and gentlemen, he's saying that counties and county governments and their officials cannot do the job. Is Mr. Sharpton's remarks, do they change the jurisdiction threshold for federal cases and policy, as he said? Are they a threat to local law enforcement here in White County? Would he remove to federal jurisdiction the local control of local affairs involving local funding and supervision of the White County Sheriff's Department, for instance? We already have tens of thousands of federal police officers within agencies such as the TSA, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the FBI, as well as many other agencies, which include even the Internal Revenue Service and the United States Postal Service. Yes, even the Department of State and the Department of Justice have their own federal law enforcement agencies within, to the liking, I'm sure, of Mr. Sharpton and the other collectivist thinking minds that support that. In August 2014, a congressional caucus in the United States House of Representatives called on President Obama to nationalize local police. It would be federalization of our local law enforcement officers who patrol the streets of Cleveland and White County and protect its citizens is beyond a threat. It is a real existing danger that has significant support from a substantial number of elected members who are seated in the United States House of Representatives. If these congressmen could have their way, they would in essence create a police state. Why? Because according to their mantra, they is us, White County voters and their constitutionally elected officials, they cannot do the job, they say. The Obama administration has already created and authorized a series of federal grants that will provide technical assistance and incentive funding to local jurisdictions that adhere to White House regulations in return for being awarded these federal funds. Now, in 1942, the Supreme Court itself, in a ruling by Justice Robert Jackson, stated, "It is hardly lack of due process for the government to regulate that which it subsidizes." So everyone should understand that accepting federal funds could easily lead to losing local control of law enforcement. Last year, the Georgia Committee to Keep Your Police Independent, a statewide organization, was formed. This committee is one of many Support Your Local Police committees nationwide sponsored by the John Birch Society. Support Your Local Police committees are meant to help protect local communities from having their police departments turned into branches of an all-powerful federal government. Local members of our statewide committee have initiated efforts to distribute educational materials to local law enforcement officials, city and county officials, businesses, and the general public. Each of you should have an envelope containing some of the educational materials that we're distributing. Good, very good. So, as commissioners of White County, Georgia, what can you do? To help answer that question, allow me to share with you what we have learned in dealing with law enforcement agencies and others throughout the state. In our process of visiting and working with law enforcement officials across the state, we have discovered that nearly all of them have a serious need for additional financial support to enable them to attract and keep good officers and to purchase needed equipment. By local governments providing their own needed financial support, they can avoid the necessity of our local law enforcement men and women depending on federal grants to meet their needs. A dependency on the federal government to meet their needs could lead to loss of local control of our law enforcement agencies here in White County. Folks, that would be a disaster to our prisoners. Local police and local law enforcement is the key to local control. Backed by informed citizens, the local police are a crucial barrier to a national police force. Now, in conclusion, we're asking that you, the commissioners of White County, join hands with us and the citizenry of this community in spirit and in deed to help support our local police and keep them independent. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Farrell, thank you very much. And I'd like to say that I believe it was last meeting that we made a huge financial contribution to the Sheriff's Department, some needed equipment, new vehicles, matter of fact, 7 new vehicles. Mr. Kelly, have you heard any heads up on when those will be delivered or anything?
Hadn't heard.
Okay.
Hadn't heard.
And some additional equipment over the last few months as well. So we put our money where our mouth is, in a matter of speaking. So
We commend you.
we appreciate it. And thank you for what you guys do, because as you guys feel, and we feel the same way, I think I feel for all 5 of us, the best place for anything is local control at the local level.
Amen.
I don't need a bureaucrat getting in my back pocket. So, anything you guys want to say?
No, just,
I don't want to get on my soapbox.
you're a small group, but we appreciate, we hear your being loud and clear. We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. All right, moving on our agenda, item 9. Discuss the maintenance of Bonnie Pearl Lane, that's Lockridge Estates, County Road number 362. And I know we have Mr. Gene White with us. Mr. White, along with the other property owners, Bonnie Pearl Lane, Lockridge Estates, had forwarded to us a request last week. It was all the property owners, correct, Gene? Take just a moment, Gene, if you would, give us, not all the board got a copy of that, but they're aware of it. So,
Thank you, Travis. I'm not sure how I get myself elected to these things, but either way I did.
you retired?
You retired.
You retired.
Yeah, they seem to pick on those retired people like this. I am a property owner in Lockridge Estates, and the house owner, same thing, and I also own an officer of the association. Our roads were repaired last year, or patched last year, I might be a better word. I think Lynn helped us do that. I'll just be honest with you, they didn't hold. It wasn't very long to where they were deteriorated again. We got sinkholes in the front and then in the back of it, and also it's about a half-a-mile road, I think, Lynn, is what it is. So we realize that everybody in the world wants their roads repaved or paved. We just like to get in front of you and try to express how our need is. Grass is growing up through the roads now, and they're just cracky everywhere. And there's some pretty nice houses in there that pay some pretty good taxes, so we'd just like to get our case in front of you for consideration of repaving the roads. We're glad to answer any questions about it.
Gene, as you know, just for the record, and Ms. Shannon, you got copies of the request.
Yes, and I put one in each commissioner's package.
Jim, I think this would be a good time and a good opportunity to this time of year, and we've got, I hate to use the word tradition, but late summer, early fall, we as a board start putting together, I'm going to say, our wish list for the spring paving 2018, and then we narrow that list down from each district, list of dirt roads along with paved roads that need some attention. And we've been pretty aggressive the last few years paving all of our dirt roads. And I think we all got our big boy pants on here. You know, we know we've got some paved roads that are starting to come apart, so our dirt roads next year may have to be scaled back a little bit. You know, I know we always want to do some more, but we've got some paved roads that need some loving. That's another way I know to say that. So if you would, gentlemen, before the September 25th work session, you mind look inside each of your districts at your roads and the ones that need some, not just maintenance, but may need some, you know, capital improvements. And let's start narrowing that list down for our September 25th. Are you guys fine with that? You okay? And Gina, as you and I had the conversation, this is the time of year, this is where we start doing this. So,
We just appreciate your consideration.
in the meantime, Mike and Dave, the grass growing and what have you out there, could you take care of that, please? That's
I'll get with Dave and ride out there with Dave one
Okay.
day. We want to do it. Prolong it, we will.
All right. Gene, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate the time.
All right. And Jim, we'll circle back, we'll circle this plane back, next on September the 25th, at that work session, and we'll start the process of narrowing down our lists. And I said, if you come up with a couple of roads or so from each of your districts, and we'll go from there. Unfortunately, we don't have an unlimited pool of money. We're not the federal government. We don't issue checks, and we don't have anything to back it. So we'll work on that and try to be frugal with our spending. Item 10 on our agenda, our library director, Mr. Humphreys, was unable to be here, so we're postponing item 10 until a later date. Item 11, consider approval of fiscal year 2017 year-end budget amendments. We have an additional item here in front of us. Ms. Vicki, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. What I've placed before you there is page 2, where I had did a key punch error on that one line item that is highlighted. Originally, it was done as building maintenance department, but it's actually a county-wide account for capital outlay with an emergency replacement of AC unit in the judge's Superior Court office at the courthouse. So that, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that was not maintenance department, but actually the county-wide department that's being corrected. These amendments are amendments that contain issues with contingency, which anything, and capital outlay that require, and salary and wages that do require that you approve these amendments for them to be accepted. Any adjustment to those 3 line items have to go through your approval.
Ms. Vicki, and I may be missing it on the list, but the cumulative total from the bottom, it comes to $191,259.80. Those columns are adding up. Am I missing something? That's the second page.
Yes, sir.
Ignorance. I caught myself before I started my book.
Should be the grand total.
My bad.
One
I'm
and
sorry.
2.
I got 3 papers up here. I apologize for that. That's not adding up to 192,000. My bad. Because I hadn't seen the updated copy until now, so thank you. For those in the audience, these are items the board has already approved. These are items that we approved during the last fiscal year. And to pay for, like for example, there's Mercy air conditioning units that had to replace in the courthouse. You got to replace it. So the county sets aside, our contingency is normally around $400,000 that we set aside each year for emergency purposes, and we use those funds for these items such as this. And we put ADA approved library doors on the library that we should have done years ago. We finally did it. But we paid for all these out of the contingency. I'm just giving you an idea of what we're about to approve here. So it just making these go into, it's shifting the actual debit credits into the general fund item or line items that they're supposed to go into in the first place. So, gentlemen, do you have any questions for Ms. Vicki regarding these amendments?
Heads up, this is the first set of amendments. I'm still working on more to come for you.
Yeah.
So page, can you put page 1 in our box?
It's in your packet. Item behind item 11.
They stick together.
Yeah.
Here it
Should be in there.
Yeah, thank you.
is. And this, I'm gonna take a dog leg here on this. Mr. Powell, of that $191,000 contingency we're about to approve, $130,000 of it was Sheriff's Department pay raises in December of last year. So just a FYI. So that goes back to this whole subject we've been talking about. So, gentlemen, we have the budget adjustments here. These are not new funds. These funds have already been expended. Do I have a motion to approve the budget amendments as presented by Ms. Vicki? Mr. Bryant first.
Second.
Mr. Hoffman second. Any other discussion? All right. Having them all in favor of the amendments motion, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Vicki, you continue to have the hill. Item 12, Ms. Vicki's going to present her monthly financial status report.
Thank you. The report tonight is it's a preliminary report for the month of July. We are in the process of still gathering information for our auditors. They will be here in 4 weeks to work some more on what's left to work in the audit. They've been working on stuff since May, really. And as far as revenues, again, these figures are all preliminary. During the month of July, we continue to receive revenues and expenditures that were posted back to the fiscal year last year, 2017. The software itself does accept us posting expenditures, but it does not allow us to post the revenues. So the expenditures on these reports are actual for July, and you can see the revenues for July total $512,066. The expenditures total $1,273,410. As I say, those are actual expenditures for July. The expenditures do not, neither one of them contain anything going back to June. Again, the same figures for our year-to-date total, this being 8% into the year. The revenue is $512,066, which is equal to 3% of what we budgeted. The expenditures being the $1,273,410, and that's 8% of what we budgeted. This year's budget itself is $16,938,774. This screen is a little tight and busy. It does indicate it's the portion that affects alcohol-related taxes and fees. The upper portion is reported the license fee totals. For the month of July, we've only collected $100. That was in a special event that occurred. The beer and wine, distilled spirits, the excise tax totals, we collected $6,439, bringing the total to $6,539, which is 5.6% of what we had budgeted, and we budgeted $114,800. This chart here is on the TABIT, the title Avalon tax. This year we budgeted $780,000. The month of July we received $76,727, and that itself is 10% of what we had budgeted. This slide scale here, what we're looking at is the little small section beside the last of the graph there. The motor vehicle tax amount that we received in July was $5,407. Again, the Tablet dollars were $76,728. And you can see with each of the years on this graph, you can see that the Tablet, the longest of each grouping, has been steadily increasing, and the motor vehicle tax is the smaller, shorter one, is the one that is decreasing each year. On this side here, it's a comparison for the lost SPLOST dollars of the county's portion of SPLOST and the Tablet that we received. The month of July, we had collected $226,216 for lost. The month of, again, July, of the county, 74%, was total $279,979. And then the Tablet dollars were $7,727. You can see with each year's comparison, see that close. Each year, each one of these dollar amounts are increasing. Keeping in mind, expenses are increasing also. On the next slide here is the local option sales tax. And this is the amount we collected was $226,216. And this year we have budgeted $2,311,809. And what we received is 10% of our budgeted amount. On the next slide is hotel motel. This year we did increase that too. The budget this year is $700,675. The month of July we received $79,034, which is equal to 11% of the budgeted amount.
I'm hoping that next month looks great with that eclipse month.
Again, since 2014, the month of July, we have increased each year. Our SPLOST receipt for the month of July was the 32nd month of our 72-month SPLOST. The receipts for July were $377,025, where each of the cities received $48,523. The county's portion being $279,979. Totals to date for our SPLOST total $10,104,238. And each of the cities have received $1,300,415, and the county has retained $7,503,408. This is a running slide we have for all the monthly receipts we receive. We have the 32 entries here. Again, reinforcing that we have total to date is $10,104,238. November 2020 will be the last receipt we receive on this SPLOST.
That was our highest month ever.
August last year.
August last year, so maybe this month.
I'm looking forward to seeing
The next
400
report.
one day.
Next report.
Must be live over there.
This is the breakdown on the July SPLOST receipt. Again, the total amount is $377,025. 1% is set aside for administration fee, $3,770. And of the balance there, each city received $48,523. We set, the county's portion is $276,209. We still continue to set aside $100,000 a month to earmark on service funds, debt service. And the month of July, we put $176,209 into our project fund where the roads are taken care of. The next slide here is the breakdown on our separate funds: solid waste, 911, drug task force, and the notice circuit. The budgets this year, solid waste budget is up slightly, all of them are. Their budget's $77,817. 911's budget is now $900,291. Drug task force, $635,779. And the notice circuit's budget is $776,230. The column on the right is a percentage of where their expenses are standing now. Solid waste has spent 3% of their budget, 911 9%, drug task force 3%, the judicial 2%. And of the solid waste fund is self-sustaining, and drug task force is also. Those two funds, the county do not contribute anything to those funds. And as far as receipts on SPLOST so far this month, there's nothing posted on the website yet.
Just for, I know we've got some folks visiting with us this evening. Just kind of a reminder, the county receives the bulk of our funding as far as general fund from property tax. And if you hadn't checked your mail today or tomorrow, you're going to get a nice envelope from the tax commissioner, Miss Cannon. And those funds the county receives normally October, November, so you see a large influx of funding coming in the county funds in our coffers, if you want to term it that way, October, November. So just FYI. Gentlemen, you got any questions for Ms. Vicky? Okay. All right. Sorry about that. One item I've got, if you would, gentlemen, over the next few weeks, at our September 25th work session, the sheriff has requested to come before us to discuss the improvements of the courthouse front entrance. It's a discussion we started last year. We're going to pick up that discussion at the end of September. If you would, I encourage you to get with the sheriff and go by the courthouse and visually see, let him show you what he's wanting to do. And in the meantime, Mr. Melton, if you'll follow up with the sheriff and see if he's had an opportunity to speak with Clerk Adams. If what he's wanting to do, it may require her to be moving some of her storage. He needs to work that item out with her between him as constitutional officers.
Yes, sir.
So, before I see here, Mr. Melton, you have anything with the good of the cause? Anything you want to discuss?
Yes, sir. I wanted to brief the board kind of where we're at on our road situation on the paving. I've asked Dave to come to the meeting, kind of give you a quick 2-minute update on where we're at on all our roads.
And Dave is our Public Works Road Department Director. So, Dave?
Thank you, Chairman. Remember, these are my goals. Okay, I'm at the contractor's availability. Then we had a lot of rain, so we're looking about the week of the 11th to do Arthur Allen and St. Louis. Possibly the week of the 18th, because the availability of the contractor might not happen because he's working on another project right now. So we're trying to get that done. Malden's looking like about the 25th, possibly the week after. There's a lot more work to be done on that. Well, they kind of hit us on that one. The Order Preserve, we're going to try to get some grubbing done around the 5th of next month, and then Carolina Springs, we're going to try to get maybe about the 12th, just the access road going down from Wyndham. So we got our work cut out for us. So, any questions on the roads?
I've been up on Carolina Springs today, and they seem to be moving along pretty good now. They seem to be back in gear with it.
What are you gonna be doing in Carolina Springs?
Excuse me?
What are you gonna be doing on Carolina Springs?
He was talking about the access road that we're gonna do in-house,
Okay,
not the work that Square Deal's doing.
okay.
Square Deal's coming along pretty good with their end, though. I was there
Yes.
today.
Yes, they got them
We're
all
down on the
pipe.
lower end, put some cross drains in, so.
And we're gonna get the connector started pretty soon, so when it comes to paving, everything will be just kind of pushed together.
Anything else? All right. Anything else, Mr. Bell?
Any projected
I don't
time
have
start
anything.
on Stanley Nick?
Stanley Nix,
Yeah.
let me ask that question.
Because he knew.
No, we're, Reggie's, he's got some things going on, he's our contractor. And, I'm shooting for in maybe about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, to have him start grubbing and stuff.
Do you think we're okay to go with what we've got up there now?
Yes.
Good
Yes,
answer.
sir.
He said that
That was a good answer. That was a good answer, though. Real good answer.
I kind of,
Yes.
It was kind of a yes around this
It's a
one.
good challenge, yes, yes. What
Well,
did I
we've
say?
had some issues up there, and I've tried to help, but I think it hurt more than it helped.
It'd be a big challenge.
last name says it all. Last name says it all.
Good luck.
For those extra meeting, I'll be glad to expound if I need to.
Or I will, either one, I'll explain it.
I'll have a little fun here. Dave, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to open the floor up for public participation.
Can I say one thing before we do,
Yeah.
just one thing? This is concerning the Chestatee Chattahoochee RC&D. Oh, you know, now, Tom was he was a member of the council. You know, I'm on the executive board, he was a member of that council. Does he show interest in wanting to stay on that board? I mean, the board, the executive board and the council has no problem with it. If he wants to stay on as a member of the RC&D, we don't have any problem with it. I'd just like to hear from him.
I can ask him.
Okay, ask him and find out. If he wants to stay, that's fine, no problem. That's all, sorry to interrupt.
But does he, Mr. McBlunt,
He
does he actually participate?
He
shows up to
did,
meetings?
he has in the past. It's, I don't know how bad his wagon's gonna be, though. That's when I wanted Mike to talk to him about it. So,
I'll ask.
if he wants to stay on it, it will benefit the city of Cleveland by him staying on it.
He's going on. Oh, really? You get good story? We'll discuss it here a little bit. All right, back to citizen participation, what we do, open the floor up. If there's anything, anyone on the floor has any questions or comments, if you do, raise your hand, I'll get to you as quickly as I can. And I'm gonna go ahead and, I made a mistake earlier. We've already voted on it, and I'm going ahead and bust my own chops. And this may be, I didn't open the floor up for anyone who's in opposition of the request earlier for Mr. Knott's customer. And I failed to do that. I made a mistake. Is there anyone in the crowd who would like to, we're still here, we're still in the official meeting, and I failed to do this, and I apologize, make a mistake. Is there anyone who here is in opposition, or was in opposition to the request that Mr. Knott made before us going from R3 to an R1? And I apologize for that. It's, I have my system and I blew it with that. So, I'd love if you would put that on YouTube. I made a mistake. But anyway,
I actually noticed that you didn't, he just kind of take time.
You can hear it.
The point is that it was realized before the meeting was adjourned.
yes, we're still in a public meeting, so we are still, we're still good here, so.
We can fix it.
And if you'd like to make any comments in support of his, that would be a time as well, so. I'll, going once, going twice, 3 times sold. All right, again, I do apologize, but I'm glad I thought of that before I open this part up. Anything anybody else want to talk about on public participation? It's 20-year giveaway time. We're good. We try to be real around here, so.
No, we actually gonna have supper before supper time.
Okay. All right. Having none, all right, let's look at our upcoming announcements. We do have, technically, it's a called meeting in the morning, but hopefully it'll be just a quick Yonah Preserve project planning meeting, starting probably at 8 in the morning. So my goal is to have us out of here pretty quickly on that, because I understand we've got some job conflicts. Thursday, I do want to encourage you, there is a DOT open house at Jack P. Nix Elementary School regarding an upcoming detour for the Roy Head Bridge Maintenance Project. For those who are not aware, the Department of Transportation has on its list the Roy Head Bridge there at 129. They're looking to refurbish that bridge, which is a great idea. It's wonderful, and we appreciate the state spending the money in our county. But the state has come up with some detour routes, literally that road, excuse me, the bridge will be completely shut down. And the original proposal was from 45 to 60 days next summer. And they were going to detour traffic up alternate 75 to Helen south on Highway 75 back to Cleveland, which I'm just going to be real with you. Y'all saw my email. It's totally way out of the way. It's about a 15, 17 mile needless trek to send our citizens and in particular our visitors to our area. I had a teleconference with GDOT, one of the GDOT employees Thursday, and yes, this is GDOT's reasoning for that was initially they're only allowed to detour folks down state routes, and that's the closest state route, which was alternate 75. And I explained to the gentleman that we do have Tessie Gap Valley Road, which is a county road, and he then proceeded to share with us that they thought they could do the work within 21 days or so. And I said, why don't you guys just post on the road, use Tessie Gap Valley Road? You know, we can be good neighbors, you know, for a few week period. And so they're supposedly going to be drawing up some information for this Thursday's meeting, but I would encourage you, any of you who are affected by this, to please show up. I did request that they try to find a way not to shut the bridge completely down. They can alternate lanes while they do the work, and they're saying that they're unable to do so. They've got to shut it down completely. But I would encourage you, come out Thursday at 5 o'clock at Jack P. Nix, but realize we as your county representative here, it goes back to the local. These folks in Atlanta didn't have any idea on what they had just designed. So we've tried to be proactive and give them some alternative routes using some county roads. But we're trying to use some common sense on a lot of these items. So we're working for you guys.
Well, the biggest concern, local people, they will know how to get around, right? They know the ways, but what concerns me is people like up in Killen Valley that are off the beaten path up there and need emergency services, and it's not a shortcut to Killen Valley from emergency service building, so it's going to be tough. We're just going to have to hold our breath, hope everything goes well.
Yeah. Just so you'll know, Union County Sole Commissioner Lamar Parrish is aware of the situation. He's not real pleased with the initial presentation. I shared with him that we're making alternative suggestions to GDOT. They can send their ambulances from Union County down Tessie Gap Valley Road. It's a lot better than going back up alternate 75 or hitting Richard Russell Scenic Highway. That's time, and you guys know that. 5 minutes could be life or death. So that's what we're doing behind the scenes. That's free. I didn't mean to get up on that soapbox, but encourage your family, though, that are affected by this to please show up at that. And we're still working with the GDOT folks and trying to make some things a little better.
I thought about this yesterday. David, this pertains to you a little bit. in these circumstances where the community's split like that and people can't get to it, it might be, you might think about possibly keeping your, a couple of your full-timers maybe up at the north station on 129, just, you know, as a safety measure up that way.
Yes, we've started looking at that. We're actually going to have representation at that meeting at JPNX and express our public safety concerns on that. But we are doing some contingency work, planning on how to get around during that time.
You know, that's all we can do is plan. It's hard to change their mind once they get their mindset. That's pretty much it. But we have to work around it. But we can do all we can on our side to provide safety for the citizens in that side of town. In my district, thank you.
All right. Again, I said a little while ago, we will not be having a regular meeting Monday, a week from today, because it's going to be Labor Day, and county normal governmental offices will be closed on Monday and observes Labor Day. We do have a work session scheduled for Monday at 4:30 on September the 25th. It'll be a work session. And then the following week after that, we'll be going into a regular meeting on Monday, October 2nd. As of today, we don't have any other additional meetings scheduled for September, but as we all know, for a while, we've had to call some additional meetings over the last several months. So just keep your ears peeled, and I'll be in touch with you if we have to. The county's hosting the GMRC meeting at Woodlands Camp to showcase the Woodlands Camp off of Church Street, Old Blue Creek Road. On September the 28th, there could be a quorum of the commissioners there. That's at 6 o'clock that evening. So it'll be a good time to get to Woodlands Camp, get it some, especially with their new sanctuary, chapel, cafeteria. It's just a phenomenal investment the Woodlands Camp has made. So, all right, guys, do you have anything else? Mr. Hoffman, Mr. Nix, Mr. Bryant, Mr. Goodyear? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Mr. Bryant, second. All in favor? Aye. Folks, have a good week, and have a good weekend as well as coming up. Thank you very much.